Hey everyone, it's Bloodborne again. I had a little bit of an update from the recent interview with Dadi and the LOTRO team. So last week he interviewed a pretty sizable chunk of the team, including Cordovan, the community manager, and Severlin, the new executive producer, which we haven't really heard a ton from yet. So it's actually nice to hear from him and see kind of what the overall vision is going forward. So that being said, there's always a question about the license agreement, and while I personally look at it in the light of the game is active now, so I'm going to keep playing it until it goes dark, and I would really encourage people to just do that. But I also understand the other side of that coin, where people don't want to invest time and money into something that they know is going to go away. So I certainly understand that. But I'm kind of in the live in the moment type of mentality where, hey, it's on right now, so I'm going to play. That being said, they did kind of allude to that they have currently about a 2.5 year plan for the game, and the only reason why they don't have more than that is because, well, things change, and they can change pretty quickly. So going out much further than that doesn't really seem realistic anyway, and it doesn't make much sense to kind of game plan 3-4 years down the line when you've got some stuff that you need to adjust right now. It might be okay to have like just a sticky on a wall that says we want to do this. That might be okay, but really game planning too far ahead of yourself, you end up kind of shooting yourself in the foot anyway. So that's good to know that there is a plan for several years out. Should help alleviate a lot of the doom and gloom, or doomsayers, as a lot of people refer to it, as the game is shutting down and all that stuff. As you know, that has been around since beta. Honestly, that the game is going to shut down. It's not going to last. It's still here, so I'm still going to play it. One of the other topics they really touched on is lag. Lag is something that everybody experiences to some degree, whether it's just your physical location to the servers, or whether it be, you have an older machine that just can't handle some of the graphics processing. Maybe you have, you don't have a whole lot of RAM in your machine, and so a lot of the textures that get loaded into RAM, you can't do a whole lot of that, so it has to process more of it on the fly. There's a lot. There's a lot of things that they've tried to do to address the lag, as far as giving the like for people that do PVMP, there's the PVMP performance override, which drops a lot of the settings down to just what's essential to play the game. You can actually turn off a lot of the buff bar stuff and not see all that. There's some animation things where they've addressed with like the Runekeeper essay of exaltation. Instead of it just hitting everybody that's in 15 meters, it actually only hits an X amount of targets. So what that was really doing is preventing things like Weatherstock from being hassled and causing server crashes and things like that, because people would go into those events, drop a bubble that would actually hit everybody in the region, and then just crash the server. So that's something that has been addressed. They really had a point of emphasis saying that the biggest issue with lag is that there's a lot of different factors to it, and they just try to keep addressing them as they can. What a lot of people have to understand is this is a smaller team. It's not going to be like a development team the size of Bungie or of Blizzard, and where they can just throw money at problems. It's the amount of effort and the amount of work that a team the size of this one can do is quite astonishing, really. And I want to see everything fixed just as much as the next person, but I'm also have some realistic expectations that just, I would prefer content keep releasing, because people for the most part can play okay. And is that a reasonable thing for some people? No, it's not. Some people expect things to be absolutely perfect, and some people are just okay with how things are because it's not affecting them. It is always about balance. One of the other topics they touched on was the lock issue with the current raid. This is kind of one of the first scenarios where we've had an issue where locks are transferring and really causing issues with the tier ones, because basically, say you go in and you were on the third lock on tier 2 and you want to go help some people do a pug. Well, that tier 3, or that, I'm sorry, that third lock from tier 2 is going to transfer to all of those people in that tier 1 raid, and that may prevent them from helping their kinship do a tier 2 run or something like that. So it is causing issues with how many people can do the raid on a given day, week scenario based on the locks. And what they really talked about is it came down to a problem with loot and how it's distributed. And for that, I would probably encourage you to go check out what they were talking about specifically, because it's kind of a little bit more of a drawn out topic. But what they want to avoid ultimately is going back to a personal loot system, which I agree with. I think that was not a good situation. I like the master loot ability. I've liked that since I started raiding back in Shadows of Angmar. So I think there's some things that they need to work on. Obviously, they are aware of those things. I understand the frustration from people as far as, what does it mean when they say they're actively working on it? Well, that's good enough for me. I don't need to know specifics of, we're diving into this line of code, or that we are looking at this particular class. When they're in a raid, it causes a problem. I don't need to know all that. As long as you're aware of a problem and you're trying to fix it, I'm okay with that. Even if you can't fix it, like you don't know what's causing it, you can't find a resolution for it, just to know that you are looking at it, that's good enough for me. And the last part was actually kind of a piggyback off the last video I did with the expansion. And I'm just going to kind of label it a Mordor expansion because there's not a lot of information about it at all. But if you kind of look at the map, there's not too many other places we could really look at going at this point. That would be proper to the story and the direction that we're going. There's plenty of other places we could go, but not a lot of them that would make sense to the story right now. They really did hint at it, and they said that they really hinted at the expansion being confirmed, but really that they don't want to talk about it because, again, things change. So I'm excited for that. I really like full-blown expansions. I like the aspect of potentially having pre-order stuff and maybe even a box stuff. I personally don't think that the physical media thing is going to happen. I still like it. I like having something physical in my hand for the dollars that I spend. I just understand the whole distribution of it, creating the discs and creating the manuals and creating the artwork and creating all these things. That costs money. And marketing that and distributing it, that costs a lot of money. So I don't see that happening as much as I would love to have it happen. Now, personally, whatever, if they release an expansion and it's got multiple tiers, I will probably still do the higher one because I love all the little pre-order things and the little bonuses you get from that. I personally love that. So I look forward to seeing any news about that. That's really looking forward to it. On the other note, this was only really the first part of the interview. Dadi is going to release the second part sometime soon, and I look forward to reading into that and listening to it. And I will probably do another one of these videos based upon that information. So again, I'd love to hear from you guys and see what you think about the information that was provided. And go ahead and comment below. Let me know what you think. Also, make sure you thumbs up the video if you like it, thumbs down if you don't like it, and make sure you're subscribing. Other than that, I will see you guys again soon. Take care.